Good morning and welcome back to Margin. This morning, we're going to talk about Financial Snapshot. We're going to jump into talking through what your score is related to your budget. So let's jump right into it. So last episode, we talked through 6 categories that had to do with your personal finances. And now I really wanted to do a deep dive into each of these 6 categories to explain a little bit more about what they are and what you should be calibrating those against, what you should be evaluating it when it comes to each of those categories. And so these categories each have their own purpose in the financial snapshot. The first one has to do with budget. And I believe that this is the most important one. Your plan to spend enables you to actually be able to invest, to be able to give, and to be able to be involved in the things that really do matter to you. So when it comes to budgeting, when it comes to building a budget, it's important to look at your income and your expenses. And when it comes to looking at this snapshot, we're going to look at whether you have a budget and to what extent you're operating within that budget. So I believe having a budget is pivotal in order for you to be able to build margin into your life. And this is why we went through a 3-part series looking at the 80-20 rule, the 50-30-20 rule, as well as the zero-based budget approach. These 3 approaches allow you to ensure that you're working and living within your means, but that you're finding a budget that works for you and your lifestyle. And so as we jump into this today, it's going to be important for you to look at yourself from an objective standpoint, taking the emotion out of the picture and looking at how good you are at not only living within your means, but living on a budget so that you're actually able to build your finances out so that they are working for you. Your money's working for you to accomplish the goals financially that you have. So once you identify the specific approach that you want to use for your budget, you'll be able to look at your finances from a standpoint of maximizing your income, minimizing the expenses that don't add direct value to you, and being able to ultimately build margin into your life. So there's 6 columns that I outlined based on your level of proficiency with your budget. Now, the purpose of this is to encourage you to operate within a construct. Now, there's freedom within boundaries, and if you define those boundaries, you're able to maximize your income. Meanwhile, minimizing your expenses to those things that truly do bring value to you, that truly matter to you. So the first category comes down to excellent. So if you are operating within the excellent column, you will also be tracking your wealth. You'll be tracking your net income. Now, you may use a product like Personal Capital to do that, or you may use a spreadsheet to do that. But the important part is to make sure that you are tracking your wealth so that you can actually see in real time what a budget can do for you. And when you're working and operating within your means, when you are spending money on the things that just matter the most to you rather than just anything. So someone who's operating within the excellent column may be using the zero-based budget approach. They most likely will be assigning each dollar to a name, as I mentioned before. But beyond that, you'll be more intentional. You would be categorized as more intentional about where each dollar is going and more forward thinking in regards to making sure that your spending today actually feeds your vision for tomorrow, and making sure that that your budget, your plan to spend, actually aligns with the goals that you have financially. So the very good column will mean that you are operating off a plan to spend. You are operating off a written budget, possibly even the 50-30-20 rule, whereas you are ensuring that you are paying yourself first, that you're paying yourself first in the form of savings, and that may attribute to you saving for retirement or maximizing your rainy day fund. But also, it's important to look at the fact that you're going to be covering the needs that you have, but also be planning for the aspects that you want. And so you'll be factoring in both of those aspects within the 50-30-20 rule that will ensure that you are not only living within your means, but you're not granular in your approach. So if you're operating within a 50-30-20 rule, you'll be putting away a certain amount towards savings, towards your wants, and towards your needs. So those three categories, if you are actively working to operate a budget off of those three categories and you're living within your means, you'll be operating within the very good column. So that being said, you'll also be factoring in what matters most to you and making sure that your budget aligns with that. So the good column would mean that you are living and operating off a written budget, that you may be utilizing the 80-20 rule to ensure that you're paying yourself first and that you are living within your means. But this approach at the good level would ensure that you are at least budgeting. So the fair column would mean that you are living within your means. Now, this may not be carried out in a manner where you have a formalized written down budget, but this means that you are not going into debt each month that you operate. So the poor column would mean that you don't have a written budget in place, that you don't necessarily have a great means to track your expenses. Now, you may use a credit card statement or a bank statement to figure out where your money went, but usually this means you're less proactive in directing where you want your money to go to. So the last column comes down to insufficient. Insufficient mainly means that you are not tracking your expenses. You are not actually looking at your bank statement or your credit card statement to see where your money went, and that you are not tracking your net worth. So what column are you in? Which one actually identifies best with your situation? My call to action today is to identify that. Identify which column aligns best with how you manage your personal finances. And don't have any shame in this. This is the first step in order to get better. If you are aware of where you're at, then at least it allows you to make the decisions you need to make in order to make progress forward with your personal finances. If this information is helpful to you, please do like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you're reminded to come back on a daily basis and improve in managing your personal finances. Thank you for your time. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.